Welcome, everyone, to episode 24 of another Jags podcast. We're happy to have you with us as we discuss all things Jaguars on this episode. We have our full squad with us tonight. Joey, how you doing?
I am doing as good as always, man.
Good. Jason, everything good?
If we get in a fight, I'm putting it on Twitter.
Okay.
I'm going to record it and put it on Twitter.
And I'm going to block you. And Robert, how you doing?
I will suspend Jason for the whole week.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Before we get started with all the things that we want to talk about tonight, we want to remind everyone that we are on Twitter at Another Jags Pod. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Another Jags Podcast. You can find us on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on YouTube. We are the number one off-season Jaguars podcast for a reason, and that's because we come to you week in and week out giving you all the Jaguars information. There's been a lot to talk about these last couple of days, guys, and I think we're going to have no shortage of conversation tonight. This podcast was originally going to be about recapping the Saints-Jags game, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we learned from the team, and also previewing the Jaguars-Minnesota game this Saturday, which we will still do both of those things, but they've kind of been pushed a little bit to the back burner because of internal Jaguars news, that being especially one Jalen Ramsey. And I'm going to go ahead and say right now, I am a bigger Jalen Ramsey fan now than I have ever been in my entire life.
I agree 100%.
If you haven't been paying attention or living in a cave for the last couple of days, Jalen Ramsey has been doing Jalen Ramsey things. And I don't think any of us in here mind. Joey is usually the one guy that has different takes on things, so I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say. But let's go ahead and talk right about the GQ article. Jalen Ramsey did an interview that came out in GQ, and basically he did his own scouting evaluation of the quarterbacks in the NFL. And Jason, if you could, give us just a taste of what that interview said, some of the things that he said about the quarterbacks in and around the NFL.
If you read the full article, it's funny because he talks about how the reason why he doesn't like talking to the media is because they take everything out of context, and how he'll say something and they take it completely out of context. He cited the New England game, and the coaches told him, don't talk about the game plan. So they asked him about Gronkowski, and he said, yeah, we'll just cover him with whoever we have. And they kept pushing him on it, and they asked him, do you think he would be able to cover Gronkowski one-on-one? And he said he did. If he had to cover Gronkowski one-on-one, it would be a good matchup. And the media blew it way out of proportion, saying that he'd be a good matchup on Gronkowski. And that was his point, is that the media takes everything out of context. So when he was talking about, they asked him about all these different quarterbacks and what he thought of them. Even his answers to all the quarterbacks, they took out of context, which is hilarious to me. He called Josh Allen trash. He didn't. That is what it is. That wasn't taken out of context. He called a lot of other quarterbacks bad. Joe Flacco, Matt Ryan, he called him overrated. Joe Flacco, he said not that good anymore. Called a couple other quarterbacks decent, mediocre. Said Jimmy.
Well, decent at best.
Decent at
which
best.
I'm going to steal that news because that's fantastic.
He called Jimmy Garoppolo a system guy, which I've been saying for a long time, so I agree. And he did give praise to some guys. Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, the quarterback we're about to see for the Vikings.
Carson Wentz.
Kirk Cousins. Carson Wentz. All kind of people. So,
and it is funny that article came out the week that he blocks a lot of media members from his Twitter account because of exactly what you said. They take things out of context. I would say across the board, I agree with everything he said evaluating the quarterbacks. I don't think he was off on too many. Do you guys have anything? Do you think he was wrong in his evaluation of the quarterbacks? And let's remember, too, this wasn't an interview. He didn't call a press conference or put this out on Twitter on his own. He was asked these questions, and he answered them. So you have to remember that, too. It wasn't like he didn't do this on his own. This was part of an interview that he was doing. So I'll leave it at that.
I agreed with almost like you, everything he said. The only thing I think it's overlooked is that I think he was dead on about Tyrod Taylor. He said Tyrod Taylor is better than people give him credit for, which I totally agree with. I mean, I think he'll be, and people aren't even talking about that. They're talking about all the quarterbacks that he trashed. Jared Goff, all those other guys we named before. Even Blake Bortles. He said, Blake, do what he got to do. I think in crunch time moments, like last year's playoff games, they would have trusted him, is what he said. So even really not even the most glaring recommendation for his own quarterback, but he went a little easier on him for sure.
I think this is a media blitz on all fronts. I mean, GQ, genius for dropping it when they did because of all the stuff that happened at camp. I don't think it was necessarily supposed to come out this week maybe, but they saw that and they put it on top of that. I mean, it just throws fire, gasoline on the fire, which is like fantastic. And no, nothing that he said in that GQ interview other than, maybe the trash. Who cares? Josh Allen, he might be trash. He probably is. And that's his opinion. I don't have a problem with him calling out the quarterbacks, saying what he thinks about any of that. My problem with Ramsey is the fact that this is all his plan. The dude is super smart.
Oh, big time.
He is in a small market, and he's making his small market big, which is not necessarily bad for us or good for us. We'll see how that pans out. But some of his stuff, man, it's not what I'd want to happen if we were in like New York or a market where that need to happen. But he's positioned himself to be the guy because he knows he's the best guy on the field. And you know what? Good for him. If it works out, fantastic. Some of it I could have dealt without, though.
Like what?
Just the stuff on the field with us. The media stuff. This is your hometown. If that stuff happens on the field, you know what? That's that guy's job to report that. You don't do that. You don't pitch a hissy fit, which he did. He literally pitched a hissy fit, stormed into the locker room, called a personal press conference without talking to anybody else. He's not the captain of the team. He's not the coach. He put that on himself to do that and annihilate the media in his hometown, man. So the first time he, doesn't have a great play, whatever, what do you think's going to happen?
I don't think he's not going to have a great play.
So he's going to play perfect the entire season.
No, I see what you're saying. You think Beanie's going to jump on him?
Yes, man. You don't make enemies out of the people that are your biggest fans. You embrace them.
I'm with you, but times have changed, and you don't even really need the media as a player anymore because of Twitter. He can be his own media.
Right.
We see that happening all the time nowadays. And if anything, the media has gotten a bad spin everywhere. Not to mention politically, but the media is not on people's good sides right now. And I think you might just be seeing that spilling over into the NFL now. Because I agree with Jalen Ramsey. They spin everything for a story to get clicks. So it's not even what these people are saying are taken so out of context. It's ridiculous. It's not even fair media anymore. And I think this was just the straw that broke the camel's back because he's had problems with the media for a while. The media even talked about how he doesn't talk to the media in the locker room. He's not one of those guys that goes out and talks to the media. And I think he's had a vendetta for a while, and this was just it. And he was like, you know what? I'm over it.
Do you think there was any with as smart as he is, Joey, like you were just saying a second ago, do you think any of his reaction was saying, let's put the spotlight on me and get it off of what actually happened, which is Fowler and Ngakoue fighting at a practice?
No, I don't think so whatsoever because he's not a team leader. He's not a captain. He's not that guy, dude.
He's definitely, he might not be a captain, but he's a team leader.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. Are you kidding me?
On the field, absolutely. He's a team leader by his play.
Yeah.
I think that was a total move of let's take the spotlight off this and put it back on me.
That's what I'm saying. That's what
but
I
just
just
on
asked.
Me. No, not to distract from the fact that this happened. I don't want people to know that this happened. I don't want people to know that there's problems going on internally with that position group. It was more about I'm the man. Everything should be about me, which is different.
I think we're giving him way too much credit at this point in time. I think that was a reactionary thing. He was just involved. He got that whole fight started. He was coming off the field. He sees a guy with a cell phone out filming this. It didn't look like there wasn't any other reporters filming this because no one else put that out there. He was the only one. And I think he saw the camera on the cell phone at least and reacted. I think that's all this was for him. I highly, highly doubt that he was thinking beforehand that this was something that he was going to do to diffuse the situation, to create a new situation, whatever. I think he just reacted. It's a guy on the sideline with the cell phone. That was a cell phone picture. He probably doesn't have a clue who that guy is.
I'd be fine with that if that's all it was, but then he followed that up with a personal hissy fit press conference and Twitter stuff on top of it.
That's true. That was
plenty
dumb.
of time after the fact to not do that.
I think he knows who he is because that's Ryan O'Halloran's boy, and he doesn't like Ryan O'Halloran. He did not like Ryan O'Halloran at all. So I think he's smart enough to know that this
Ryan
is
O'Halloran, former Florida Times Union.
Yeah, and Denver Broncos. Yeah. And I don't necessarily like him either.
Me neither.
So,
dude.
Whatever. I think he knows
trash too.
I think Jalen knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, I agree.
So wait a second. You said you don't think he knows what he's doing, but you do think he knows what he's doing?
No,
I didn't think he knows.
He doesn't know. It's a plan. He's definitely promoting himself in every facet in any way that he can, and rightfully so because he's the best cornerback in the league. He is, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in a market where he might not get that type of coverage, but he's making that coverage. I mean, everybody's talking about what right now?
Jalen Ramsey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're not even in the season.
I think the tweets were planned, but I think everything before that was reactionary still. I mean, I can't imagine. You'd have to be just diabolical for that quick to think of that. I'm good. I can get in the media on this one.
For me, if all that hadn't happened and that GQ article came out, I'd have been like, oh my God, he is awesome. It was just a bad combo of them coming out on top of each other.
I thought it was a great combo.
I loved the GQ article.
Yeah, awesome. I did too. I mean, honestly, the thing about Jalen, this is who he is, and it's who he's always been since the day they drafted him up until now, and even before that. I mean, he was the biggest trash talker at FSU when they had a ton of trash talkers on that team. I mean, it was everybody on the team talked trash, and he was the biggest one. I mean, this is who he is. No one was up in arms when he got in AJ Green's head so much that AJ Green tackled him to the ground from behind. You know, I mean, we love that about him. So if we love that about him on the field, he doesn't have an off switch. He continues with it, and and this is cliche, but you love it or you hate it. And I love it. I love it because as a Jaguar fan, especially, we have been the punching bag of the NFL for the last 10 plus years, where it doesn't matter how good or bad we've been. You know, usually it just hasn't mattered. We have been just the punching bag for everybody. Now he's coming out. I honestly feel like, and for me personally, and I would say for a lot of Jaguars fans, we love Jalen because he's speaking for the fans in a way. We have this guy that is cocky and brash and is saying whatever he wants, and we love it. And I'm glad for one that we have that guy. Is he ever going to be that prototypical team captain, the Telvin Smith who's going to hold people accountable? No, those are two different guys. But as we talked about either on the last episode or the one before that, when he came into training camp that first day, his presence alone elevated the play of the defense. I mean, what more do you want from a guy? He's going to say these things in the article, and he's saying them because he believes them and because it's true, but he's also going to back it up. He's not going to go out there and let Josh Allen, whenever we play them in week 8 or 9, whenever it is, he's not going to let Josh Allen beat him. He's now made that a one-on-one.
Don't get me wrong. I love Jalen, and I love the fact that he is a shutdown corner, and he will shut down every other team's best wide receiver, and he'll make quarterbacks that are great not throw to him. That's him. I just hope that all this extra stuff doesn't distract from his play and doesn't distract from the fact that the rest of the Jaguars are pretty damn good.
I mean, I feel like that narrative of distracting a team is these guys are professionals. I mean, what are they going to do? Be watching Jalen instead of focusing on what they're supposed to do? I don't know.
At what point does AJ Bouye, who was as good, if not better than Ramsey last year, get sick of that crap?
I'm not a huge proponent of this being a distraction either, but to say that, let's be honest. I mean, they're professionals, yes, in the sport, but these guys are constantly having issues across the NFL. I mean, so it's. But I mean, they're also reactionary people.
So Bouye gets sick of it. Is he going to play worse? I don't understand.
I mean, I'm saying they're all professionals, but Ramsey is borderline acting not like a professional at this point. I hope it doesn't get to the next level.
I don't see that. I really don't. I mean, it was his personal Twitter account. It wasn't it wasn't affiliated to the Jaguars in terms of him blocking, media members. He missed the week, but I'm glad he's missing the week because it means it's a week of him not getting injured. I don't think that's a big deal at all. It was, when the regular season rolls around, this is going to be so long forgotten in terms of missing training camp in Minnesota and all that stuff. I don't see why what he did this week is going to make the team grow tired of him.
I'm not saying that it is. What I'm saying is an escalation from last year. Last year, hey, you're a fantastic player. You shut down everybody. You're getting in wide receivers' heads, and you're talking trash with that. Talking trash about the Jaguars being the greatest. Okay, this is like a next level of that. If the season starts becoming about him in every aspect, that could be a distraction. That's what I'm worried about.
I mean, look, if we look at what's happened in the rest of the NFL, there was fights at multiple training camps. There was a fight at the joint practice with, I think it was the Buccaneers and the Texans, I think.
49ers.
Texans. 49ers and Texans. There was a fight at the Browns camp. Aaron Rodgers called his receivers, quote, piss poor. Well, if that happened in Jacksonville with this knee-jerk reaction we're doing, would it be a distraction too?
It's not.
So there's distractions everywhere. Is what I'm saying.
But that's not what I'm saying, though. Ramsey he's a distraction because it has nothing to do with the fight whatsoever. He stepped in like he is the team leader of the team. He's not. He's not that guy. He's team leader because he's awesome.
But what player on the team is disagreeing with Jalen Ramsey about posting that on social media? What is Calais Campbell going to be like? You know what? The fans need to know that Ngakoue and Fowler got in a fight.
No, they're not.
They're not. So he's not the team leader, but he probably is speaking for the team.
At this point, he's not. My worry is that it's escalated a lot since last year. If it keeps going, then I'm concerned about his ego, honestly.
The best players in the NFL are going to have an ego.
I think you have to have that ego to be the best player.
Especially a defensive back.
I'm not downplaying the need for an ego. I'm saying the ego can only go so far.
I can understand where Joey's coming from and this is why. You have to have an ego to play in the NFL to some degree. You have to believe you are the best. Otherwise, you are never going to make it in the NFL. And that's professional sports altogether. That being said, Jalen is probably one of the best, if not the best, defender in the NFL. I mean,
he's the best.
And on top of that, he talks a lot, and he's getting himself in the media more and more and more. Now, I'm not saying he is going to be this, but there have been distractions in the past with people with the same kind of personality doing the same thing when it comes, for instance, T.O. Odell Beckham Jr.'s had this issue. There's been a ton of people. Randy Moss had this issue with several of his teams. So these things can become a distraction. Do I think so at this moment that that's the case? I don't, but I do understand where Joe is coming from, that if it keeps escalating, players can get sick and tired of that.
You said Randy Moss. Randy Moss is a Hall of Famer. So if he's anything like Randy
Moss.
And
T.O.'s going to be a Hall of Famer too. But
yeah, he is a Hall of Famer
But
now.
he would have played longer if he could have got along with people.
The most trash-talking, media attention defensive back to ever play is Deion Sanders.
Yes.
And that dude is literally Jalen reincarnated. Like, it's...
No, I think Jalen is trying to be that guy before he's that guy.
And I would do anything to have Deion Sanders on our team.
Yeah.
So if he's Deion Sanders, he was the same exact way. He plays defensive back. Every defensive back talks trash. Look at Richard Sherman, dude. He's the king of trash talk. So it comes with the territory. It is what it is. Like James said, when the season starts, people are going to remember this.
No, this is a absolute preseason story.
Which is why I'm against why are you talking about this.
This is your prototypical preseason story. This would not be talked about when the regular season starts. And it wouldn't happen when the regular season. These guys are bored, okay? They're bored. That's what's happening right now. They've been practicing against each other for 2 weeks now. I don't know if you heard Austin Superion-Jenkins' interview by Hayes Carline on 1010, but he said this is the hardest training camp in his professional career. It's the first time he's had to call his mom to just tell her, like, look, I'm done. I'm cooked. And so they're on edge, and they're ready to go play meaningful games. So that's what happens when these guys all get together, these professional athletes hitting each other day in and day out. It's not going to happen once the regular season rolls around. And Jalen will manifest that cockiness in week 1, week 2, when he actually gets to use it and play against someone else and when it counts. So I think this is such a non-story.
Yeah, the fights are one thing, though, but the media loves Jalen, and anything that Jalen says and does, especially going forward, it is going to be in the media, whether it's preseason or regular season. So whether not the fight, I mean, that happens on every team during preseason. This one happened to get recorded was the big thing. Because I watched it, there was like really nothing going on. It was pushing and shoving and going on. But that being said, Jalen has thrusted himself into the spotlight, whether it is the preseason or it's the regular season. Anything he says going forward that's even the slightest bit controversial, it is going to be in the media, whether we like it or not, and whether we care about it or not. And I like his talking.
I mean, I think that's exactly the point, is that fights happen all the time. They fight constantly. But Jalen decided to put himself into that situation and make it about him and make it bigger than it was supposed to be. And that concerns me, man. I mean, I hope it doesn't happen, because I think he's an excellent player. I'm so glad he's on the Jaguars. I mean, he's the best. Honestly, he is the best. So you should have some swagger. You should have some ego. But, I mean, what happens if he disagrees with a coach's decision halfway through the season? Or what if his ego is that big?
It happens all the time.
It does. And what happens if he decides he wants to be that guy and make it a point at that time?
I mean, that's why you have a head coach.
I mean, we'll see, man. I'm just saying.
I'm sure it's happened multiple times.
Here's the thing. This wasn't an isolated incident, to what Jason was saying earlier. Like this, there has been... This has been a crescendo of Jalen Ramsey in the media. This wasn't like all of a sudden one day he just said, you know what, I don't like you guys, and this is how I'm going to react. it had been come to a boiling point, and for whatever reason, on this day, he decided that he had had enough. If it wasn't this, it might have been something else down the road, but I don't think he just flipped his lid out of nowhere. There's a lot of stuff that, as fans, we're not privy to that goes on in the locker room between reporters and players. And I think he just had enough. I think he was over it, and I don't blame him for it, to be honest with you. I'm just glad he's a Jaguar.
I'm not saying that. Trust me.
I mean all of them. I love what he brings to the team. I love what he brings to the city of Jacksonville. I think Jaguar fans, puff their chest out a little bit having him on the team. I think as fans, we love to have someone that has that swagger, has that cocky attitude, has that, put the spotlight on me. I'm not going to back away from it. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. I mean, when they showed him talking trash to Brady in the AFC Championship game before the game started, if that doesn't get you hyped up as a Jags fan, I don't know what doesn't. I don't want any of that taken away from him because we're afraid that his ego is going to get too much. Like, keep coming with it. That's what I'm saying.
Trust me, I love that he's a Jaguar, but the Jaguars aren't horrible anymore. They're awesome. So we don't necessarily need negative play anymore. There's plenty of good stuff that needs to be out there constantly. I mean, we don't need that. We
I
don't
think
need
you're
that.
making a mountain out of a molehill on this.
I hope I am. And if I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here a little bit because, again, I think Jalen's going to be fine. I think he's a professional. But if you look at last year and then you look at this year, it's definitely ratcheted up a notch or two. And that concerns me slightly. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with him 100%. The media sucks here in Jacksonville. So go, Jalen. You keep doing your thing.
I'm glad we're not the media.
Maybe one day.
Right,
we'll treat you fair, Jalen. We'll treat you fair.
Just because you have a press pass doesn't mean you're media.
No, I mean I don't have a problem with the guy that did. I mean he's he's on the sideline. He's a press guy, Times Union writer. So
he's doing his job.
He's doing his job. I don't think anyone was wrong in it. Honestly, I mean he did what he was supposed to do. Jalen didn't like it.
He got scared real quick though.
Yeah,
who
turned
wouldn't?
that thing.
That
thing went off quick.
When I saw that video, I thought that wasn't a point. I didn't think that was a point he was allowed to film because of how quick he turned it off. I mean, because if he was in the right, he could have just kept going no matter what he said.
Yeah, he could have.
He would have had a payday if something happened. I mean,
if we're being fair here, there was one guy that was wrong and all that.
Who's that?
Fowler.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Oh, nice segue.
Come on.
Nice segue.
There you go. Get paid the big bucks for a reason.
No, I think it would be Jalen in this aspect more than Fowler.
No.
He pushed O'Shaughnessy way out of bounds.
I had to almost get off Twitter because I just couldn't handle the Jag fans. I could not handle it. I've never seen Jag fans talk trash about someone. I mean, without any information, trade them, cut them, get rid of them. It's like, dude, you have no idea what happened. We were not there, dude. Like anything could have happened to justify Fowler acting the way he did. We weren't there. O'Shaughnessy could have said something. We have no clue. So to just jump on this train that, it's Fowler's fault, get him out. It's like, come on. Like, really? We're just jumping to that conclusion. You threw some old dude's liquor in the lake. Like, that's the only thing we have is precedence.
Hey, that reaction to that was decent at best.
Yeah.
People are more mad that he was fighting Ngakoue.
I guarantee.
He's jealous of Ngakoue. He took his spot. Come on, man. Ngakoue is a known hothead, dude. The dude blows up on people constantly.
Yes, and I guarantee what he said was, hey, man, that's the crap in games that lose us yards.
But
You've been here for 2 practices?
In the video,
why are you hitting him like
was
that?
kept coming off.
That's why you're not starting.
Who knows what was said?
Here's my issue with it. I'm actually glad that we didn't, this didn't happen today and we were recording the podcast tonight because I probably would have a totally different, my knee-jerk reaction was not trade him, but just like, oh my gosh, what's going on with this idiot? But, truth is we don't know. But you don't see Miles Jack and Telvin Smith getting in a fight. You don't see Cam Robinson and Jeremy Parnell fighting. What I don't like is that there are 2 guys playing the same position getting in a fight because it's not just there on the practice field. They got to go into team meetings, into their position group rooms, and there is tension there. I guarantee you there's tension between those 2 guys because Fowler, and I'm guessing here, but I'm probably right in this. If you ever went to any high school and there was a stud athlete there, they pretty much got whatever they wanted. Didn't have to study, didn't have to do anything, and that's Fowler. Then he goes to University of Florida, a major program in college. Same thing happens there. He gets whatever he wants because he is a freak athlete, doesn't have to do much to be better than the guys around him. Well, that doesn't fly in the NFL because every guy around you is a freak athlete. Now, all of a sudden, isn't getting what he wants. And there's this guy that was picked in the 3rd round that has now taken his job and the spotlight.
He hasn't taken his job. He's earned his job.
Well, yeah, and that's how he took it.
Yeah.
And, for sure, absolutely. And I guarantee you, whether he would admit it or not, that it rubs Fowler the wrong way. And he doesn't want Ngakoue saying anything to him about how to do this and how to do that. Because who are you to say that to me? I'm the 3rd overall pick, and you were the 3rd round pick. But Ngakoue has his job, and I just don't like that that exists within a position group, because those guys need to be on the same page and helping each other out, not saying, I'm not coming out of the game, I don't want him doing this, blah, blah, blah. And that, talk about team chemistry messing up. I think what it did is it solidified, if we didn't know before, which we've all said on here before, Fowler's gone after this year. Well, I think that little incident, that little window into what's going on, solidified the fact that he's definitely gone after this season.
And Fowler is a man-child.
Yeah, he's a freak. We all know that. He's an insane athlete.
No, I mean man-child, like mentally. I mean, yeah, he is a freak of nature, but I mean, I'm honestly probably arguably the biggest Gator fan in the room. So I would promote my guy if I could. But in this case, I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. It's just constant. He says the right things to the media, except for the fact that, hey, I'm not in jail.
Hey, did I get arrested?
Something. Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, that's just further proof of the fact that he's never going to mature to the point where we want him to be.
I don't know where.
And if
I don't know where anyone's getting this idea from. I mean, he had that issue with the guy. Terrible thing. Other than this, which was, if there wasn't a reporter there, no one would have known about it. He hasn't done a single thing.
You mean like being videoed refereeing a fight between his girlfriend and his ex-baby mama or something like that?
Or getting like 6 speeding tickets going like 180 miles an hour.
And then like also Instagramming his drive home after I don't know, I didn't even watch it, but he was doing something stupid the day of the fight last week.
His rookie year before he got hurt, doing a backflip in his pool and almost cracking his... I mean, dude, the guy is not mature. He's not going to mature.
This whole year has been a non-issue. He has been a non-issue for a whole year.
He was in camp for 2 days. He didn't have time to be an issue.
Since he had that issue, but since he had
he
the
was
thing
good
where
last year.
He had not a single problem. You can't throw a...
Yeah.
What I'm scared of right now is that, and we're going to lose Fowler to the team next season.
No, way before that.
No, we won't. He's going to be on the team the whole entire season, and he is going to be a stud somewhere else. Calais Campbell's going to go down, and then we're out. We don't have that guy that could pick up that position.
Taven Bryan. That's why they drafted him for Calais Campbell.
I mean, everyone's assuming that Fowler's going to be gone. Is it that much of a stretch to believe that Ngakoue could get hurt and Fowler plays the whole year?
Is it that much of a stretch?
And if that happens, and if Fowler goes down early in the year, are you gonna? And Fowler has a good year, that puts the front office in a really, really tough spot next year.
Yeah. Okay. Assuming that everyone's healthy, which is it's a big assumption, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if Ngakoue is in there, then Fowler's second string all season long. If Ngakoue gets hurt, then we have that piece, which is why I agree with Robert that Fowler's not going anywhere this year. He's going to stay on the team. They're gonna see this as, we're going to use him because we need him for a Super Bowl run, but after that, go sign with someone else. But to disagree with Robert's point, I do not think he's going to be this amazing defensive end because, like Joey said, he lacks maturity. Look, you have to have a mind switch when you go into the NFL. It is not college anymore. The talent pool is not diluted. It is the best of the best. And I just look, he's missing that thing that says, I'm going to go to the next level.
I will say right now, if Fowler stays healthy and Ngakoue stay healthy, both of them, I guarantee that Fowler will have the same amount of sacks as
crazy.
Unique.
I disagree for one reason, because I'm going to lock this in right now. Fowler is going to have a great season for half a year, and he's gone.
They'd have to get...
They're going to get a lot.
Major.
They're going to get a lot for him. It's going to happen.
I would say if that's going to happen, it's not going to happen halfway through the season. It's going to happen after the fourth preseason game.
Whenever it happens, it's going to happen.
Well, who's going to give a lot for a guy that has half a year left on his contract?
Somebody who's going to throw 8 sacks in there as a non-starter.
So you're going to trade. I mean, what's a lot to you? I guess like a high draft pick.
Yeah, high draft pick.
Like what?
And possibly somebody we need.
There's no way we get more than a fifth out of him.
So you're saying he has 5 or 6 games under his belt, 4 or 5 sacks, and somebody goes down, and we want to trade for somebody we need to fill a position group? That's not going to happen?
No. Who's going to trade for Dante Fowler? No one wants a guy with 3 months on his contract. Because then you're going to have to go through the signing him, and that's a whole ordeal. What if he walks? And
Hey, what about this? Let me throw this scenario out there. And you can add draft picks here and there or whatever. How about a straight-up trade, Dante Fowler for Earl Thomas?
No one's going to – I can't see anybody wanting Dante Fowler because his deal is about to expire. Why trade for him when you can let his deal expire and then sign him?
If you can find that other team that has the same kind of situation going on, and maybe you can work with them and just say, hey, because the Jaguars aren't keeping him, and if you can find another team that's in the same boat, then maybe that's reality. Again, I don't think he's going anywhere.
I think he's way more valuable as a depth on the D line.
Yeah, I agree. That's why
than bringing in a guy who might not be able to resign to play safety in front of guys that know our system and stuff.
We definitely need him as depth. I'm not arguing that whatsoever.
I see what you're saying. I don't think there's any value in him.
Somebody who's been at 2 training camp practices and the second one he gets in 2 fights, that's not like fresh. That's
it's
like
more likely he gets
crap.
put on like the pup and then it gets released, then he gets traded. That's all I'm saying. And if he were traded in the preseason, we'd get maybe a 6th rounder for him.
I don't think it's happened in the preseason. We're going to hold him because we need him.
No one's going to trade anything for him. No one wants a deal that's expiring. That's like literally like a lame duck contract. That's what nobody wants.
You pay and then you have to figure out how to get them to stay.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, see, I'm going to get a max deal from the Cardinals. Right? It's like
so you wouldn't give somebody a max deal that's potentially going to have 11, 12 sacks next year?
I would give a 7th if I was trying to get him for half a year max.
I'm saying I think somebody would trade for that. There's not many pass rushers.
But would the Jags trade a 7th for Dante Fowler? That's no
7th and somebody that fills a spot where somebody went down and got hurt. Yeah, I think they would because they're not going to have him next year anyway.
I don't think a team would trade someone that would fill a spot on our team because there's no value in Dante.
Who knows
Fowler.
Who's going to get hurt?
But I'm just saying, if anyone's valuable,
I'm not saying it's ideal. I'm saying I don't think
if it happens, I could be wrong.
I think he's kind of a cancer, man.
I think if you assume that Fowler's going to have as many sacks as Ngakoue playing far less snaps, then you are not giving Ngakoue nearly enough credit for the player that he is.
I'm not yet.
Everything that he's done the first 2 years has been stellar, and what he's been. All reports coming out of training camp is that he's far better than he's ever been. The guy is so hungry and determined. Like, he is out to prove everybody wrong on every single snap. He's Maurice Jones-Drew. I mean, in my opinion, that's his mindset. And I think he's going to have a monster year to the point where if Fowler is gone after this year, it's going to be an afterthought.
I agree.
We talked a little bit about this and we talked about defensive line. We broke it down in an earlier podcast, but when in the playoffs, Fowler outplayed Ngakoue. And it was visible on the amount of double teams that Bill Belichick had. He double-teamed Fowler twice as many times as he double-teamed Ngakoue. This is Belichick we're talking about here. So Fowler has something that Ngakoue doesn't have. And Ngakoue has proven he's better, and I think Ngakoue will be on the team. But Fowler has like this pit bull thing in him that causes him to get in fights and causes him to throw people's groceries in the lake that Ngakoue doesn't have. And I think that is his biggest downside and his biggest upside at the same time. So if he can learn to balance that, this year I don't think he gets as many snaps as Ngakoue, but I believe he'll go on somewhere next year and be better.
That's the big question, though. If he learns to balance it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure he's capable of that.
No, I think at this point he's not.
Right. I would agree.
Still young, though.
Well, how much of that was Fowler being healthy and like more fresh at the end of the season than Ngakoue? I mean,
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
None?
I mean,
yeah. At all?
I mean, unless Ngakoue had an injury that we don't know about, which could happen, but I don't think.
It's hard to say that this player, and I understand what you're saying, as just a pure natural God-given athlete, Fowler is better. But Ngakoue, over an entire span of a season, has proven his worth where I think Fowler hasn't. Yes, Fowler had definitely his probably best game of the year was against the Patriots, and it couldn't have come at a better time. And we see those flashes of potential, but then all of a sudden he disappears. And then what kills me, and this is I think what Joey was talking about in terms of what Ngakoue may or may not have said to Fowler. This is all speculation, obviously, from us, but it's those guys a yard or two out of bounds, and here comes Fowler and pushes him, and then there's a 15-yard penalty that now gives the offense a first down, and it just takes all the momentum away, and you're waiting for that penalty to come from Fowler because, again, he lacks that maturity.
Yeah, or I'm going to crush the quarterback, but on top of that, ram his head into the ground after the fact. I mean, yeah, he's got that killer instinct, but he just is not smart and he's not getting it. And Ngakoue works his butt off and gets it. So I can see him having a huge problem with that. So regardless of the fact that they don't work well together.
The thing that scares me is if you go back and watch Fowler's sacks from last year, every sack is different. Fowler can get to the quarterback every which way. He can cut back. He can spin around a defender. He can just run over a guy.
He can kick the ball.
He can kick the ball out of his hand. I mean, this guy is a freak. And I think, and my issue is not really him versus Ngakoue. It's what happens when Calais is gone, when we have all of that side. Malik Jackson's gone. These guys are getting older now. And we have a guy that is a huge talent. Regardless as if he has this, like, whatever people want to think that he's going to continue to be like this, he is a massive talent that I think we are going to be sorry we lost in 2 years.
I'm all about huge talents, but I'm also more about team chemistry, and that's why our defense works as well as it does, is because the guys are all bought into the same thing. I don't think Fowler is.
Yeah, but at the same time, he was tied for 4th in the most sacks, so he was constantly on the field, so he has to have some kind of chemistry with these guys.
I don't think on-field chemistry is all that big of a deal, but I mean, in terms of Calais Campbell leaving in year 2, that's why they drafted Taven Bryan, for him to take that spot. Those are 2 different positions. It's not that rush in. I mean, Jason can explain it better than I can, but I mean, I believe that they have a plan in place, knowing these guys are free agents and what they're going to spend their money on and how they're going to draft. But I don't know. I mean, I would love nothing better than to see Fowler flip a switch and all of a sudden be this mature professional that goes in and works hard and still has that killer instinct that you need a lot. I think that's what most of the players on the team have. That's why our defense is so good. Going back to Jalen, I mean, he's got that killer instinct, but he's still able to channel it. You know, Telvin, I'm sorry, he's a dog, but he's intelligent, smart, and knows how to channel it as well. All those guys are. Fowler is different. He's just different, and this is a contract year for him. He's in camp 2 days, gets suspended, knowing he's already suspended for the first regular season game. Just think if that was me, I'd be like, you know what, this is going to be a clean preseason, and I'm going to get ready for the second game. And it's just, I don't know. Eventually, it is what it is. And
James, that's a fantastic point. I mean, if you're somebody that's bought into the team and cares about everything that everybody else cares about, you don't come back after missing almost everything. Get in a fight with O'Shaughnessy and get in a fight with Ngakoue. I mean, like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. So I think it's a good break point, guys. So we'll take a break here. We'll come back and we'll talk about something positive, which is Jags at Minnesota.
welcome back to episode 24 of another Jags podcast. Well, that was a interesting first half of the show, I would say. A lot of different points of view, and I have a feeling there's a lot more that we could talk about with Jalen Ramsey, Dante Fowler, and all that stuff, but we are going to leave it at that because there's actually football to talk about here. Before we get to that, though, we want to remind everyone, again, find us on Twitter at Another Jags Pod, Facebook and Instagram at Another Jags Podcast. We have our website, anotherjagspodcast.com. We can find all our links to all of our shows, all that good stuff. Again, just if you are on Twitter and you're not following Another Jags Pod, you need to. So much information that Jason puts out there, invaluable. Check us out. And on any of those platforms, let us know some feedback, things you'd like for us to talk about, and we'll certainly address them. As of right now, though, we are going to... I'm just going to pause for a second because every single one of the guys is on their cell phones, and I'm not sure if
listening.
Okay, y'all listening?
Yeah.
Right, just making sure. It's very, technologically cool looking
I was
in here for a
looking
second.
at our Twitter.
I have headphones
pumping
on.
it up, and
I have headphones on. I can hear everything you're saying.
Okay.
I wanted to,
It
look
was-
at the Twitter you were
It was very,
talking
very
about.
intimidating.
I was about to say, don't forget Facebook, because I posted the picture that you can get gate cups with the schedule on
Yeah,
there.
I mean,
is that not better than all the Twitter
that's
stuff?
vital
come on,
information.
James.
Yeah.
Is that better than cut ups with the formations and the
Absolutely
and all that
not.
stuff? Yeah.
For the average fan,
you got to stay hydrated, and you need a cup to do that.
If you want to know what the schedule is, on the back of your cup, bro.
That's right.
I just heard James talking. I just went to my phone.
Most people do. Most people do. Let's go real quick. It seems like forever ago. It was about a week ago that the Jags had their first preseason game. It was at home in TIAA Stadium, which we're just going to call it the Bank because that's a very annoying stadium name, but they pay the bills. It was a fun, electric environment, I thought, for those of us that went. It was a very fun first game. Good to get back into the stadium and see the players on the field playing someone else. We'll start with you, Jason. Let's go with your impressions of the game overall.
Love the dog park.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
Absolutely
I'm so
love-
glad you brought that up. I'm going to save that for later.
Just walking up and seeing 4 dogs on the dog park. I mean, it was
Shutting down the bathroom because that's where
Yeah.
the dogs go to the bathroom.
True story.
Get out of here.
True story. The bathrooms closest to the dog park, like legit bathrooms, which I usually use on game day. Walked up to it. There was a safe SAFE lady standing in front of it. And I was like, hey, and use the bathroom. She's like, you can't. It's for dogs only. I paused for a second, and I said, excuse me? She said, it's for dogs only. And
The police officer even was like, what?
yeah, so I'm saying, look, I'm not arguing. I just want to get this straight. This human bathroom is for dogs only. And the police officer standing next to me looks at her, and she's like, for dogs only? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, wow. And I was like, wow.
I mean, from like a logistical standpoint, how does a dog actually go to the bathroom on a urinal or?
I have no clue.
Wait, how's that work?
I have no clue.
Straight on the floor.
I was more like more surprised than like angry, even though I had to go to the bathroom pretty bad. I was just like, I just couldn't.
Did you just find a fire hydrant? And
I went into that nasty family bathroom.
Oh, yeah, that's gross. No, but we're not going to talk about that. But I will say that, look, Mark Lamping and the Jacksonville Jaguars have done a great job marketing the team overall.
But
That dog park is a swing and a miss. They need to tear that thing down immediately. It takes up so much space. That is a great spot for watching the game. One of the most popular spots in the stadium is now a giant chain link fence that you can't see. It's terrible. And not only to mention, it's only for, you can only put 10 dogs in there.
in a lottery system.
Yeah, it's awful. They need to get rid of it. Just admit it didn't work. Whatever they have to do, make up an excuse. Say a dog died and they don't. Then they want it out. I don't care. Kill a dog if you have to, like some stray that you find in a third world country. But get rid of that thing. I mean, I walked by it and immediately got mad. I was like, that is such a complete waste of space.
Yeah, it really is.
It's so stupid. I thought when they put it down, when they announced that they were going to have one, I thought,
Hey, just for the record, James said that the Jaguars should kill a dog. I'm just going to throw that back out there.
just
third world country
Just
dog.
a third world country. Listen, if you've ever been to a third world country,
There's dogs everywhere.
There's dogs everywhere, and some of them need to be put down. They're asking you, like, kill me, please. Hey, I heard there's a dog park. I'll be that guy. I'll take that bullet. Just bring me to America for a couple days.
I can't wait for the promo. Jaguars, kill a dog.
That's right. That doesn't strike fear in opponents. Like, we will kill dogs. We are the Jaguars, and we're winning the Super Bowl. But I thought they were going to have it outside the stadium, like where like kids do the 40-yard dash. There's all that space, and just got to bring your dogs and let them chill. No, it's in a valuable spot in the stadium.
Yeah.
It's awful.
You got all that space on the ground floor, like where the Daly's place comes in. You got 2 entrances like to the field. Like you could work something out there, right?
But we're gonna block the view of everyone on the sky patio so they can't see on the entire left side.
I'm just scared what's going to happen on the other side now. I mean, there's going to
point.
be a bird and
point.
cat cage over there.
They're gonna I'm gonna put like a couch with like 500 cats on it or something.
That would be cool, like actual Jaguars, man. I mean, like do that. That'd be awesome.
That would
But,
be
yeah.
better than
That would be
Yes.
cruel.
Oh, yeah, that too.
We're talking about killing dogs, so
Hey, we're way past cruel here.
Listen, dogs that need to be put down. Right? We're not talking about like a healthy puppy or anything like that. It's a dog with like a limp and a half an eyeball falling out. That type of dog. Just
was brought to you
clarify.
by
But
the
anyway,
American
okay, back to
Yes.
the game though. Back to the game. Jason.
Okay, who seriously impressed me?
Yes.
Okay,
I have a wild guess who one of them might be. Just
dude, don't steal my thunder. You know where I'm going with this.
Can I go first, actually?
No, the backup quarterback Cody Kessler.
That's right. Oh,
I mean,
surprise!
unbelievable. I mean, did I not sit here and tell you guys this guy was the real deal? And he goes out there and goes 14 for 17, 139 yards and a touchdown. And he was like accurate and made good decisions and found the open guy and looked through progressions. I'm telling you, we're going to trade this guy for a 3rd-round pick in the offseason.
Which I'll throw out there, some of that was against the first-team defense as well.
Yeah.
Did you? Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram played like well into the second quarter.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like
the Saints left him out there for a while.
Yeah, for sure. So I thought he played really well. I thought Corey Grant played well, but again, he just didn't play good in when he got handoffs.
No, it was all about the passes.
When he got the ball on like swings and screens, he was great, but on handoffs, he couldn't get more than 2 yards. So
Hasn't
I think
that always kind of been his MO?
I know, but everyone's like, "Oh, Corey Grant needs more carries." It's like, he doesn't need more carries; he needs more receptions. I guess would be my point. All right, then the last guy on defense who I thought played really well was I thought Jalen Myrick played really well. And I don't think he's getting a lot of credit for how well he played. But watching him in coverage, he not only graded out really well, but there were guys were never open that he was covering. And, we saw Trey Herndon give up a bunch of passes. All of these other depth DB guys. Sammy Seamster had a pretty bad game.
The obvious, first of all, our first team offense effortlessly drove down the field. It's fantastic. I mean, they looked legitimate as our defense does. I mean, and that was against they're top 5 to win the Super Bowl this year team?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. So, Drew Brees wasn't playing, but their defense was pretty much all there. So that was number one. Number two is kind of the outside the players things was after the game, they interviewed Kessler, which again, I'm super happy that we don't have to worry about our backup quarterback. But one thing that he said was that he was in the place that he was in because of the work that Bortles put in with him. And a starting quarterback is not going to put that work in unless they are confident in their game. You're not going to have somebody that's worried about getting their position taken, helping the backup quarterback that much. So that more told me about where Bortles is at than where Kessler is at. So that was really good. And then afterwards, Marone, man, I mean, he said, yeah, this was good, this was good, this was good. And at the end, he was just like, but we didn't win the game. Dude, that guy just wants to win everything. And that permeates all the way down to every player on the field. It doesn't matter if it's a scrimmage, if it's a preseason game, it doesn't matter. They want to win everything. And that's the mentality where we're at, which is great.
I mean, to be fair, our third team offense and defense was terrible.
They were.
We got outscored in the fourth quarter 14-0. So,
but if
I'm a coach.
Who's our third team quarterback?
Honestly, I think we can all agree.
I can't remember who that is.
He is terrible.
Tanner Quick Release Lee.
I don't know.
I don't care where it's going. I'm getting it out quick.
He already got cut.
I hope he
Did he really?
No.
I hope he got a nice picture in his uniform.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It did show he wasn't ready whatsoever. But
The whole third team was
he's a
bad.
seventh round
to be
draft
fair.
pick, man. He's not supposed to be ready for that. I mean, right?
He was never ready for the NFL to begin with. At all.
Freaking Taysom Hill went off for the Saints. So he's was undrafted. So
I honestly paid no attention to the third string anything.
Anyone else, Joey? For me, it would be Dede Westbrook. I thought he looked really good, especially the one low grab he had in the on the goal line. It was a really good catch. He also, I think he was the most targeted wide receiver that night. He went 3 for 32. I mean, it wasn't big numbers, but I mean, I thought he looked good. I've always been questionable about him, and I'm looking forward to see him play more through this preseason. But if he can keep that up, I think he's going to really solidify his spot on that roster. Also, I mean, not really a guy I was super worried about, but I love seeing Lambeau drill 249 yarders.
Yeah.
I mean, that was good to see, especially after the terrible last couple of seasons we had. He came in last year. He did a great job, but I was still just, I don't know what it was. I was still just a little apprehensive, but him coming into the preseason and doing that made me confident that he is going to do great this year.
So now you can talk about special teams, and I
can.
can't. I see how it is. Double standard.
You're right.
I can't remember last time I've seen him miss a kick.
It's not just that he doesn't miss, but when he makes them right down the middle every time. It's crazy.
He does, but I don't know what it was. Last year I was still and it could have been just like PTSD for 2 years of having to deal with what's his face. But I mean, when he came in last year, he did great, but I was still always just like, oh gosh, I hope he makes this one. But seeing him come back out and doing that, I was just like, all right, we're good to go. I don't have any reservations.
No, not at all. For me, I'm going to say Bortles impressed me because he did. That opening drive was 15 plays, 7 minutes off the clock, and they were so systematic. He just looked casual and easy. And as much as I agree with Jason's praise about Cody Kessler, which is right on, that's also a player that if everything goes as planned, we're never going to see him play unless it's a blowout game and the game's already decided. So
right.
as happy as I am about that, I'm more focused on Bortles because he is the starter, and I just loved his command of the offense. He's a different quarterback. Joey said a few weeks ago on one of our podcasts that he's going to make the Pro Bowl. It's possible, honestly.
Hey, man, the Bortles train has left the station. It's a fact.
To be fair, though, he had a throw on that first drive that should have been intercepted, and the defender dropped it. So if you're playing a good defensive back, that's probably an interception on the first drive.
You're playing a Super Bowl contending team, potentially. Interceptions are going to happen.
Yeah, but it wasn't because of the defense. It was because of a terrible throw.
Sure, and bad throws happen.
I agree, but if he throws a pick on that first drive, I mean, we're completely have a different narrative on Bortles.
But it didn't happen.
That's what I'm saying. That's my whole point, was that we were a lucky break away from being feeling totally different.
And winning the Super Bowl.
If Bortles would have
luck.
thrown a pick on that first drive, how many fans, dumb Jaguar fans, would be like, Cody Kessler should start over Blake Bortles? Seriously, they would be there.
No, you're right.
They would be there, and
You're
that,
right.
and that's I'm
That's
glad
without a doubt, because some people were calling for Ramsey to get traded this past week. I mean, they were
Are you
saying,
serious?
Yes, I saw one. They're like, well, maybe a trade for him. I mean, it's
Okay.
ridiculous.
All my stuff about Ramsey I just said, if the Jaguars traded him, I would almost not be a Jaguars fan anymore.
Yeah.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my
Right,
entire life.
right. So, but to that point that Jason was just making about Kessler, then yes, there would definitely be people saying Kessler should be the starter.
I mean, like James said, though, I mean, it was effort. Even that run he had at the end, it was like he checked down, he looked, and he just strolled to the end zone. I mean, it was just the right call at the right time. I mean,
I thought the offensive line played really well. Even like the backups. I mean, William Poles, a guy that we've never even talked about, was like the highest graded player on our team.
yeah, that's one thing.
So-
We didn't even have Norwell in that game.
Didn't have Norwell. Yeah, I mean, and Cam Robinson didn't play that much, and Parnell didn't play. Richardson didn't play. So a bunch of these guys that were in ended up, these backup, Casey McDermott had a really good game. So, I mean, these guys that we're looking at as depth. Tyler Shatley had a really good game. I was making a cut up of him on Twitter, and I kind of got distracted. But I'll put it out there. But Tyler Shatley had a good game at the left guard position. So
No, is it true? Shatley's the one that can play like 3 different
yeah,
positions.
oh
right?
yeah, so
Like,
versatile. Center,
apparently
guard,
that guy-
tackle. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at that and I was like, this guy, like they were talking about but not just like can play them all. He can play them all like above average,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
is
yeah.
like unheard of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he filled in for Linder last year, and he did a really good job.
Well, when Can was out, they moved Linder over to guard for a little bit, and
Mhm.
Shatley played center. And he's a nice guy in person. So I'll just put that out there.
There you go.
That's
So
that means
hey,
everything.
Shatley, high five, bro.
Yeah, hey, old T-Shat. T-Shat 69.
So, were there any like downsides to the game that you saw, other than our third string? I mean, who really cares about that a whole lot?
Yeah, the outside of Myrick, I don't think our defensive backs played that well. Ramsey and Bouye, I think they only played 9 snaps each. I'm not talking about them, but you know, a lot of people had high expectations on Trey Herndon. Patman didn't play that well. CJ Revis didn't play that good. Cody Davis, Jared Wilson, DJ Hayden. These guys didn't. Well, I don't think DJ Hayden played, but these guys didn't play that good. I mean, Harrison was okay. Didn't do anything great. I was kind of expecting more out of them, but we're gonna get a good look this week against the Vikings. I know we're about to get to there. But another guy I'll just mention real quick who graded out really, really high was the middle linebacker from Virginia Tech, Andrew Motuapuaka.
Okay.
Graded out really, really high. Had a really good game.
Something I thought was interesting, speaking of linebackers, is Leon Jacobs did not play all that much. He went out with all the other first-string defensive players, which I think says a lot to how they feel about him. He didn't need the extra reps. It's like, all right, you're starting. You're out with the other starters. I thought it was pretty telling.
Yeah, I thought so too, but I was still wanting to see him out there just a little bit more. But I mean, you know, if they don't want him to get injured because of that, I understand completely. But it would have been nice to see him play a little bit more.
Go ahead.
I just wish that we would have mentioned him on the podcast like before like any about started talking about him because that would have been cool because he does look really good.
Who's that?
Leon Jacobs.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh, wait a
Hindsight.
minute. Wait a minute, we did.
That's right.
We talked about
Yeah,
him a while ago.
I was about to be like, dude, what?
Yeah. You had us going.
I said
Yeah.
I was. He
Yeah.
was the one I looked.
That
most
guy's
forward
gonna
to
be a
playing last week.
beast.
The best takeaway, though, the absolute best takeaway from that game was no one got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I was happiest about the most.
Agreed.
All right, so now we can go ahead and segue.
So
Go ahead and take it.
The Vikings have some good skill position players, which I'm excited about. Their running back position is really good. Dalvin Cook, Latavius Murray. I think his first name is Latavius. Did you know he's had the most rushing touchdowns in the last 3 years than any other running back?
Fancy football fact.
Isn't that crazy?
Huh.
So Latavius Murray at wide receiver, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, Laquan Treadwell. I mean, that's
Hey, don't forget Percy Harvin.
come on now, it's too soon.
Is it?
No, it's not. But they're good. I mean, they were really looking forward to that defensive back matchup with Ramsey and Bouye versus Thielen and Diggs. But you know, I'm still excited. Bouye's a good defensive back, but they're a good quarterback. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun game.
I mean, really on paper, they look awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be Minnesota Jags in the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
I mean, that could be a legitimate matchup in the Super Bowl, which makes it even cooler that we're getting to practice with them and do this that we're doing. I mean, I love it. I just hope Fowler doesn't kill anybody on their team.
Well, and we'll see Kirk Cousins play.
Fowler's not going to be there.
No,
that's right.
He's suspended.
Good point.
Yeah, suspended. Is it anyone else kind of weirded out by the fact that it's at 1 o'clock on Saturday for the preseason game?
That is a weird time.
Seems odd.
I mean, what else is going on sports-wise then, though?
Nothing. It's just most preseason games are at night because they wanted to give people a chance to go to a primetime game under the lights. It's not a big deal. It's just weird to me.
I think there's a Taylor Swift concert at the stadium that
Tay-Tay?
night. Yeah, Tay-Tay. T-Swizz is playing. That's the reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a weird time slot. I'm one that I already dislike the London time slot, having to wake up at early in the morning to see the game. So 1 o'clock on a Saturday. I mean, even as big of an NFL fan as I am, it's kind of a struggle still for me to watch on a Saturday at 1 p.m. when that's my day off to do other stuff.
Oh, I'm definitely watching it.
I'm definitely watching.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm watching it, but it's almost an inconvenient time in some ways.
I don't mind it that much. I mean, you get to watch more games that day, I guess. You get to watch some night games.
I don't mind. It's just a funky time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I was
You
thinking.
get to see those nice Minnesota facilities in the daylight.
Yeah, I heard they're quite nice.
The Minnesota.
Some people will spend an entire segment on.
I just think of college football.
I think
That's
they
all
might be
of.
really nice, from what I've heard.
But a good matchup is going to be their offensive line apparently isn't that good, and our defensive line is very good. So we may be feasting on that offensive line, hopefully.
I think it's going to be more competitive because these guys have been playing all week together, practicing against each other. So there might be some guys that want to go a little harder than a normal preseason game. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Do you think we're going to get to see Taven Bryan come out on this one?
Hope so. He suited up today at practice. They didn't know how much he was going to do, but he did suit up. We'll see.
I mean, I think the big thing is Cousins going to light up our secondary. I mean, that's what I want to see. Is he as legit as the paycheck he got?
No.
Well, I don't think he is, but this is a test. I mean,
according to Ramsey, he's a pretty good quarterback.
Well,
he's one of the guys that
maybe that's why he got suspended. He didn't want to go up against him.
Did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Well, they also got Mike Hughes, their first-round pick last year out of the national championship winning UCF Knights. So it'll be fun I think I'm looking forward to watching him play up there. Should be a good defensive back. Play on the other side of Xavier Rhodes. So,
I mean, I think last year worked out well for us, going up against some quality competition with the Patriots, seeing how they do things, and just getting a different look. I mean, when you talk to all the players, all of them are super excited about being there just because they're going against somebody different. I mean, at this point, they've been banging against the same people the entire time. They've been guarding the same people. It's just fun to go against somebody different. So
you know who doesn't like it? Tayshaun Gibson. He tweeted about that.
I do remember that a while back. You're right. He did. He said that should disappear. I don't know why that's the case, but I don't know. I think it's a good thing, and most guys are pretty excited about just seeing a different look.
Yeah, I think it could be really cool. I could also see it, depending on the team, turning into like just a big babysitting match. Everyone going, okay, calm down. Don't get in fights, and then just constantly having to do that the entire time. I almost feel like it would be exhausting for like the backup coaches and everyone.
I hope a fight breaks out. Big one.
Melee.
That's like terrible PR nowadays.
Yeah, it is. Which is stupid.
Yeah.
It is stupid. It goes on all the time.
It happens on every level of football.
Again, as long as it's not the same position group fighting each other, I'm fine with it.
This is a sport where men are absolutely tearing each other up, yet we think a fight breaks out and they're like absolute animals. I mean, that's what football essentially is.
Yeah. I mean, I will say one thing about Frangie, since we don't have our press passes yet. He was talking about Ngakoue earlier. And like, it was just like giving like a layout of the field. Like, hey, this place is awesome. It's amazing. But on top of that, like, here's the players. Here's what they're doing. Like, these guys are doing this. These guys are doing that. And he said, and there's Ngakoue standing there with his arm crossed, just staring down the other team, looking like he's ready to rip somebody's head off. And I'm like, yeah, that's like, I love that guy, man. Like, just let him go. Like, take the chain off, man, and go. Can't wait.
I'm looking forward to seeing how our first team offense does against their defense. I mean, they have a legitimate defense. Will we see the same success that the offense had last week against the Saints this week again? Because again, that's going to be the question all season long: is Bortles and the offense. And so I hope we see. I don't know how many drives does the first team offense have this Saturday?
Probably about the same, right? 9 or 10, whatever the
plays
2 series goes, or.
I'd say they go. I think you'll see probably double that you saw last week. So they had what was it, a 9-play drive? Is that what it was?
I think it was 15.
15.
Yeah,
it was a long.
It was
drive,
a lot.
man.
Yeah, so it ate up 7 minutes of the clock.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, 15 to 20. So I think you may see that happen over 2 drives though this game.
The question is, when do we call our first fake punt?
Yeah, we're due for one.
We are.
Preseason.
Can you start a game with a fake punt? You know, like rugby style or something?
Yeah, maybe.
Like a squib? Is that what it's called? Squib? That's the only thing I know about rugby, a squib.
I think they play at least 2 drives for sure. No matter the outcome of either drive, I think they play at least 2 drives. This game and the third preseason game, the one that'll be on the 26th against the Falcons, these are the 2 that to really to pay attention to. And so I'll definitely be focused a little more on what they do. So I think 2 drives is maybe 3. It could be 3.
Yeah, I would not be surprised with this coaching staff if they don't like exactly what they saw on the first drive, or they don't like exactly what they saw on the second, that they might stay out the first quarter. I wouldn't be shocked.
I mean, what the biggest position group right now that is still kind of up in there is still wide receiver, right?
Yes.
Would everybody agree there?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a good test to see what our wide receivers can do, and you kind of need Bortles in there to decide that in the starting offense. So it could go long. I think you guys might be right.
I'm glad you brought that up, because against the Saints, Dante Moncrief started.
He did.
Which that was not what it looks like on the depth chart. Keelan Cole was out. He didn't play at all. So I don't know what to make of the unofficial depth chart, how true that is, but I mean, Moncrief had a couple catches in that game. Didn't look awful. Didn't look amazing either. Just looked, like he did what he was supposed to do. So it'll be interesting to watch him a little more. I hope Keelan Cole plays, because I just want to see him catapult into a new stratosphere this season. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's football. It'll be a fun first quarter at least, and then we'll see after that. After that, it'll be more our second and third stringers and how they look, and if Tanner Lee can complete a pass this game.
Man, I wish we would have just signed someone else and I don't want to see that guy play anymore.
I feel bad for him, honestly, because he's not ready, but he does have the potential because he's got a big arm, and I think that he could be something possibly sometime. He needs to get on the right squad the right amount of time. You don't think so, Jason?
Mm-mm.
This is your boy with the quick release, man. Big
You
arm,
have a quick release and
big dude.
not be good. I mean, Tebow had a cannon. He wasn't good. You can have good parts.
Whoa.
Man, I watched his every
talking about
touchdown.
playoff winning quarterback.
Did you see that for his birthday? NFL Network.
Winning quarterback.
Man, he kind of looks good.
No, that's a trap. He gets you in. But I mean, after
not a trap.
This game might get boring pretty quick, because after Cousins, we're looking at Trevor Siemian, Kyle Slaughter, and Peter Pujols.
Poo.
So that's where we're at with their quarterback depth.
Isn't that kind of the problem when you pay somebody like $100 million to come play quarterback for you?
Point. They're all in. They're Super Bowl or bust this year.
They are. And again, I'm still happy we made the decision that we did.
They have a good defense. That's a good point. I mean, they're good across the board. Harrison Smith is all pro safety. I mean,
people
Xavier Rhodes,
people were saying that. I mean, if they weren't saying the Jags defense was the number 1 defense, it was pretty much Minnesota was the next one in line. Mm-hmm. And both teams were being floated around the entire time, especially at the end of the season when the defense kind of slipped up on a couple games. I mean, it kind of allowed Minnesota to kind of pull ahead. So,
well, they said earlier that they brought Kirk Cousins in and they're returning 19 starters. So
that's what you want.
That's consistency. It's exactly what you want. So they're not going to be any kind of joke whatsoever.
That's going to wrap up episode 24 of Another Jags podcast. Again, make sure to go follow us on social media. We have a good time on there. Twitter, Another Jags Pod. Facebook and Instagram, Another Jags Podcast. Remember, if you're a local band, you want us to feature your music, send it to us, because we want to feature some local Jacksonville musicians who want to support the community and everything going on here. If you have anything you want us to talk about on the next podcast, send it to us, and we'll be sure to talk about it. It's going to wrap it up for us. We'll see you guys after the Vikings game, and as always, go Jags.